and Mary, this mic is all yours.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another hour of Living Prayer with Reverends Mary and Josh Haun. We'll go ahead and start with a little bit of a song here and get into this hour of joining. Oh, so once we get this screen sharing enabled, we'll go ahead and do that. Sorry about that, Lynn.
Got it?
All right.
One, two. When you're caught in the wake of a terrible tide, suddenly you're struggling to stay astride. So you calm your hands and you cool your mind, and you wake up happy on the other side. Honey, you got what it takes. You got what it takes to save the world. When there is trouble you cannot command, maybe it's God trying to guide your hand. So you shine a little light upon where you stand, so that you can genuinely understand. Honey, you got what it takes. You got what it takes to save the world. Miracles happen every day. We don't know why. I guess we just lucky that way. A homeless man with no place to sleep woke up to find warm boots on his feet and a hot cup of coffee with sugar and cream. Courtesy of the only YPD. Honey, you got what it takes. You got what it takes to save the world. You got what it takes. You got what it takes to save the world. You got what it takes. You got what it takes. You got what it takes. You got what it takes to save the world.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to an hour of Living Prayer with Reverend Mary and Josh Haun. And we are just so grateful to be with you today. That this might be one of those days where I'm just gently reminded of how much I enjoy and I'm grateful for this opportunity to just commune with you all. So I just invite you into a space of prayer and just allow you to invite you to close your eyes and turn our attention inward. Just give ourselves permission to slow down and listen. Just take a moment to acknowledge the presence of Holy Spirit moving in this space in this moment, right here and now. Give great thanks for all the folks involved in my life and my healing. in this life and in the healing that's taking place with all. So just say thank you, thank you, thank you. Amen.
Amen.
And so as per usual, it appears that we don't have a topic on top of mind. So I don't know if something came up for you in the last 7 minutes, Mary, but I don't really have anything to talk about off the hip. So
Yeah, I think a good place to probably start would be with today's lesson, which I thought was very good, and I am always grateful for. Some days more than others, probably. Is true. Let me see if I can find it here. Oh, yes. And I've already chosen what you will. I believe that's for today, isn't it? So, Father, I thought I wandered from your will, defiled it, broke its laws, and interposed a second will more powerful than yours. Let what I am in truth, pardon me, let what I am in truth is what your will extended and extending. Or yet, that's my problem. Sorry, guys. Yet what I am in truth is but your will extended and extending. This am I, and this will never change. As you are one, so am I one with you. And this I chose in my creation, where my will became forever one with yours. What choice was made for all eternity. It cannot change and be in opposition to itself. Father, my will is yours, and I am safe, untroubled and serene, in endless joy, because it is your will that it be so. Today, we will accept our union with each other and our source. We have no will apart from his, and all of us are one because his will is shared by all of us. Through it, we recognize that we are one. Through it, we find our way at last to God. Well, it's so interesting, isn't it? How these lessons just seem to be a necessary part of the chaos and BS that's happening in our mind currently. We have a gal who joins with us every morning, and is very clear about how these lessons just align with what her current experience seems to be. And I would agree. And especially, it seems like the last couple of weeks of lessons, it really felt like it was necessary timing. And I could actually hear them. Sometimes I need to hear them throughout the day, and that's what it suggests. And I can see why it's necessary. Because, I can find anything and use anybody really as a means to separate myself off. And I think it's actually protecting myself many times. And, I was reading a little bit earlier here from the Healing the Unhealed Mind, which is a little workshop from Ken Wapnick that they turned into it's a little bit bigger than a pamphlet, but it's a smaller book, a book that I could manage to read, maybe even. And it's just really talking about this whole idea of sin and making these things in our mind, these sins in our minds real, these labels that I have on myself or others real, and how that is not really effective. But besides, I suppose, for a learning opportunity, but really not effective when I'm trying to find peace and serenity in God. And so this lesson helps me remember in that light that, you know, yet again, I am sort of making it up and believing in a story that really isn't true, and then using it as a way to, I think, again, it seems like, I think that these sort of tactics are my safety and my defense system, that I believe, because the world is so corrupt, so um, cruel, harmful, intolerant, that I have to have a system in place. Oh, there my hand goes up. I'm a hand talker, so you guys will see my hand throughout this whole thing, I'm sure. Unless we could turn it off, I don't know. Um, but yeah, so for me, it's when I have conflict come up in my mind and I feel the need for protection, it's really essential that I kind of go back to these core lessons. I've come a long way, I think, along the path of just along the path, since I started A Course in Miracles. And some days it feels like I've come a long way, and then other days it feels like I haven't done anything and made any progress, right? But the truth of it is that at least I know today that I'm really just fooling myself, and I'm doing it for a reason, and it's generally not for the reason that I think is true, because I know that the ego is vicious and suspicious, and so for me it's really a matter of being vigilant over my tendencies. So getting to know ourselves, I think, along this course is really helpful. And hopefully that's what you guys are all doing, is starting to have a better understanding of how your own psyche works and how your own thought system works. And that, maybe you've already gotten into the lessons and started to uncover and discover some of these hidden secrets and hidden rooms inside your mind and heart that still have some maybe sorting out to do. We talk about that sorting through process and the discerning process, I believe in. Is it the truth? Let's see here. I'm trying to think if it's how, I get the two confused sometimes, like how the teacher of God should spend his day versus the building of trust, that section. But at any rate, I believe that getting to know that part of us, that ego part of us that wants to stay separated off, and kind of finding what those triggers are and why they are, is helpful. Not to make them real, but just to have kind of, the ego is very cunning. So I feel like in some ways, I need to, it's helpful for me to understand, if it's at all possible to understand insanity, its underpinnings a little bit, and how it works with me. I know some people talk about, being friends with the ego and that type of thing. And I think if, that works for you and that's what you feel guided to do and that helps, then, then maybe that's your path. I think for me, I don't really look at it as a friend or an adversary necessarily. I just look at it as a block to the love and the presence of love that I would like to be aware of. So I think those are some of my thoughts. And just remembering that today I want to accept that union, and be willing to recognize when I don't want to accept that union, when I want to believe in the story of terrorism or whatever it is, for whatever reason. And then to simply to look at it. I know in my heart it's the most natural thing, right? And then when there's an upset, it's helpful for me to remember that it's not about what, I'm never upset for the reason that I think. And I do believe that that's true. That quote from a course is very true for me. I'm never upset for the reason why I think. I'm upset for the reasons that I tell myself to think. And then I just make it real. And I think what's really happening there is that it's just not God's will for me. And that's why I'm really upset. I'm upset because I'm trying to wander off again, and I get lost and I feel vulnerable and I feel like I need protection and safety, and I do this to myself, right? And so yeah, it's just been helpful for me to try to work with my higher power, my guide, to sort of help identify all the ways in which I do that. And I play this smoke and mirrors game with myself that really doesn't serve much of a purpose, I don't think, besides just keeping me distracted and busy in time. And so that's kind of what I have to start with.
Thank you. I think what I appreciate about this lesson is the fact that the choice is already made. Again, in truth, I've already chosen. Now, the I that is speaking is the I of the Christ mind, right? The I of the Holy Spirit, that which is joined already in truth. And so the question then becomes, which I am I identifying with when I make this declaration? And I just really appreciate the ongoing offerings and lessons of A Course in Miracles that gently allow new thoughts to be supplanted, or old thoughts to be supplanted by these new thoughts, and to offer these gentle reminders of the fact that I don't have to be stuck, and even in the midst of perhaps being stuck or seeming to believe that I am stuck, there is still an ever expanding will of God, and that is what has already been chosen in truth. Like, we can throw darts at it, we can try and separate it, but the truth is, and always will be, forever unchanged. And so there's an element of comfort in that. But that doesn't absolve me of looking at what it is that's distracting me from aligning with that truth. And so I guess what I am really acutely aware of today is that I just seem to perhaps have a fast learner, but an even faster forgetter. And I don't seem to remember lessons already learned, and I don't seem to remember activities that have already taken place. And I don't have this ancient memory readily available, it seems. And maybe these are all stories, but these are these thoughts are the evidence of false beliefs and false identification and error thought. And these error thoughts and these false identifications are what I seem to be living with. And so this lesson really gives me an opportunity to look at what it is I'm aligning with. And I don't know. I get reminded gently and not so gently regularly that I'm going through the same experience over and over. And that is that's just what I'm aware of today, is that I keep reliving the same thing. And the same thing that I keep reliving isn't the fact that I've already made the choice for God's will. The fact that I keep reliving the same thing is the false choice of separation. And so I don't know. I don't really know where to go with that, but that's kind of what's coming up for me today. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting that, we occasionally start off with like, oh, we don't really have anything planned or prepared. And it's actually just ridiculous. Like it's already been done in truth, right? Like um my planning usually isn't really helpful, I've noticed. And I'm of like people tell me that. And so, I guess it's just like more of that, um, like, do I really need to know? Is it really helpful for me to know something in advance, how it's going to go down? Because if I knew what was going to happen, I would try to change it, and I would try to manage it and manipulate it and control it, because that's my will. And that, like Mary's will, not the Son of God's will. Um, and so I guess, it's, thank you for that point, Josh, that we don't want to get it twisted. Generally though, in my experience, I haven't lived from a mindset of the Holy Son of God mindset, the Christ mind. Today I work towards that, and I am eternally grateful that it is true, that it's already been done, that I've already made the choice, that it's just playing its thing out. But yet, if I really was in a space of uh, honoring that, you'd think that I'd be a lot more peaceful, happy, uh, you know, um, not as irritable and discontent that I seem to be, because I could just be like, oh, I've remembered, or oh, I'm the Holy Son of God. I've made this choice forever. And I am free from all this hierarchy of madness and chaos and the 7 layers of hell that I seem to be in of my own making. It's like, this is usually not a conscious thought that I can come up with, especially when I'm spiraling into the depths of hell. And so it's like, okay, well, what can I do? Because when I first started A Course in Miracles, it certainly did not seem practical to me. And I think that for me, I've gone through different stages, right? Like I guess Ken talks about, the rungs of the ladder. And so I feel like I've kind of gone through these different stages, or layers are peeled back, or whatever your metaphor is for it. And there's new awarenesses and new understandings, um, which is all good and necessary, and I think just part of the whole process. So, as I'm going along this path and having new understanding and new awarenesses, I think what's helpful for me to be a part of is to, I mean, not even that it's helpful for me to be a part of, it's more like it feels like what it is for me to do at this stage, is to just like be practical with myself. If I'm not practical with myself, oftentimes I can slip into morbid reflection. I can slip into time traveling. I can slip into feeling guilty and resentful and remorseful. And it's like, what are the practical things that I can do to stay on the path today, prayer and meditation's good, doing our daily lesson is helpful, joining with other people is helpful, reading the text is helpful, and there are some things for myself anyway that I've really just decided I'm going to believe. So like, I think I had a very fixed belief system before the Course in Miracles. And now that I've been doing the Course in Miracles, my belief system has, been flipped in a lot of ways. Not all the way, but it's like, the ship is righting itself slowly but surely, I think. And so one of the things that I just truly believe is that I don't know what anything is for. I'm never upset for the reason that I think. Like these little one-liners from a course it's like a slogan or a mantra or whatever. It's another little thing for me along this path that is so helpful, especially when I'm all jammed up or I feel there's a threat or I'm feeling insecure. Trust would solve all problems now. I believe that's how the quote is, or answer all problems now. But something along those lines. And that's helpful because it's like, oh yeah, my only problem here is my lack of trust. And that's why I think it's kind of funny, that there's talk about, well, maybe we don't really have a plan. Well, for me, it's really helpful to be in trust because we tried to do this thing at one point where we had a plan and we were going to do and it just created conflict between us because I'm more one way and he's more another way. And the egos were just in conflict about it. So it just seems to me like, we can just be more natural and more open to the will when we're not tied into a have to or shoulds or we think we know what needs to be said and know what is right and what other people need to hear. Because that just, just as an observer, hasn't really worked very well in my experience in this life. So anyway, I've been talking quite a bit. Do you have anything that you want to add or share? Because that would be good.
I don't really know that I have a whole lot today. I think that Holy Spirit is just kind of letting me listen, asking me to listen today. I think that it seems as of late that when I open my mouth, I'm really not talking from a space to being centered or grounded. And that's something that I think I need to hear.
Okay, well, I will move on with what is the ego. So this is in the workbook. It's right after lesson 330, which was today's lesson. Oh, no. That's not true, Mary. It was 329, which is today's lesson. But I am still going to go ahead and read what is the ego because I was reading through it a little bit earlier and I thought it was really helpful. So the ego is idolatry, the sign of limited and separated self born in a body, doomed to suffer and to end its life in death. It is the quote unquote will that sees the capital W will of God as enemy and takes a form in which it is denied. The ego is the proof that strength is weak and love is fearful. Life is really death, and what opposes God alone is true. What do you think about that?
I think Jesus is laughing the entire time he's saying this. I think that this whole thing about the ego, what I appreciate about A Course in Miracles just is this link, this idea, or this space at which it's just acknowledging us and acknowledging the sonship. And I really appreciate the way that it's written in such a way to just simply look at the system, the belief system, the structure of the egoic concept and the egoic belief system as the farce that it is. And I love the way that A Course in Miracles really just cuts the ego thought system off at the knees, and the way that it's called out with precision and simplistic summaries really just appeal to me. It never gets old to me to hear these definitions. I just really think that they're beautiful in a way, and almost like brilliant. And so it strikes me as funny in the sense of sometimes when you kind of hear truth and you just know it to be true, it makes okay, I'll just speak for myself. Sometimes when I hear truth and it just kind of hits me as true and I just kind of know it to be true, it makes me just want to laugh at the ways that I look at things. And it makes me want to laugh at the ways that I get so serious about things. And I know that A Course in Miracles talks about a tiny mad idea where we forgot to laugh, where we remembered not to laugh. And that really, this definition of the ego, it is like so it's so accurate, frankly, that it just calls out the absurd lengths that the ego's thought system will go to preserve itself. Like idolatry is the very first word used, right? The authority problem is called out there. The idea of the separated self, the idea of hierarchy, all of these things are brought up without even mentioning it directly. And I just appreciate that forthrightness. And I also just really appreciate just the direct piece. I guess that's all I have.
Yeah, I just thanks, Jeff. I was just looking up this the ego is idolatry, and I'm like, oh well, I think I know what idolatry means, but what sometimes I like to look things up so I know that I am actually understanding what I assume I know.
Yeah, I think I know a lot of definitions, and when I look them up, I'm like, man, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, or that there were so many different definitions. You know who's really great? We talked about this is Ted Nottingham is so amazing at biblical translation. And Josh and I are almost like always like just I don't know. I'm like dumbfounded when he's like, well, the actual translation of this is this. And then it completely changes the entire meaning of something that I thought was one way. That I've been thinking it was one way my whole life. And just that one slight perception change, that little, focusing of the lens completely changes the whole meaning that it had or has. So anyway, to the point is that idolatry is the worship of idols. So the ego is the worship of idols or of the ego worship. And when Josh was talking, what I kept going through my mind was just get over yourself, not him, but just get over your small self, really, like just get over it. Yeah, the arrogance of the ego is endless. Okay, so the next section in what is the ego? The ego is insane. In fear, it stands beyond the everywhere, apart from all, and separation from the infinite. In its insanity, it thinks it has become a victor over God himself. And in its terrible autonomy, it sees the will, capital will of God has been destroyed. It dreams of punishment and trembles at the figures in its dream, its enemies who seek to murder it before it can ensure its safety by attacking them. Okay, so you get a little bit into projection here. So yeah, it's like, okay, this is how it works. In its insanity, it thinks it has become the victor over God himself. And so, again, it kind of reminds me of the workshop of Ken's, where he's talking about the whole mythology of A Course in Miracles and how the world came into play, right? As this place that we essentially separated off into whatever it is now, 7 billion. How many people around the world are in the world today that we?
Around 8 or 9 billion.
A lot. So all these fragments, right, separated off so that it could better hide in this make-believe existence, essentially. And that the ego sees the will of God has been destroyed. And so because we think that we've destroyed God's will or killed God or usurped the power of God, I think these are all kind of interchangeable ideas that he sort of used, is now we have this deep fear that we're going to be punished. And so because of that deep-seated fear that we have that we're going to be punished, all of a sudden, we have to project that out and kind of our best, what is it? Our best defense is a good offense. Is that how it goes?
Lower your hand.
Oh, lower my hand. And at any rate, that's really what we're kind of contending with here when we're talking about how crazy making this really is. So then it begs to question, well, what could be the antidote to this kerfunkel that we've gotten ourselves into? Kerfuffle? Is it kerfuffle? Well, at least I kept it clean. I may not have gotten it right, but at least I kept it clean. It was close. It could have gone the other way for sure. But anyway, so then we find ourselves, lost in this world of our own making and afraid that we're going to be punished, projecting out our defense as a way to sort of self-preservation and to continue to hide from God. Then we get into the Son of God is egoless. What can he know of madness and the death of God when he abides in him? So kind of just pointing to the idea of it never happened. What can he know of sorrow and of suffering when he lives in eternal joy? What can he know of fear and punishment, of sin and guilt, of hatred and attack, when all there is surrounding him is everlasting peace, forever conflict-free and undisturbed in deepest silence and tranquility? Do you have any thoughts on that section, Josh?
Yeah, I think that, again, this is just a real clear communication from the level of the Christ mind and the assumption or the the audience is also of the Christ mind. Like the author is completely negating the chaos of the egoic separated mind and speaking directly to that one who knows. And I just appreciate that immensely. That extension of trust and that extension of honesty in A Course in Miracles is profound, truly. The ego would believe that this ever expanding mass of knowledge, truth, God, life can be quantified and qualified, and as it pursues this everlasting attempt to quantify and qualify its ideas and concepts and separate perspectives and perceptions on life, it then uses those qualifications and quantifications to attack and protect. And I just really appreciate that the lesson today and this reading embrace the insanity that anything else that could ever really happen in truth. The insanity that although the ego is brilliant and the ways that it sustains itself and perpetuates its existence through the belief of separation and all of the ramifications or manifestations of it, that truly it's founded on an impossible truth, an impossible fiction, really, and an impossible event. And yeah, this idea, Lynn, thank you for putting that up on what is an idol. Like this idea that I'm always the last to know. Like I'm just like always the last to know, in the sense of I don't even know that I'm in idolatry. I don't even know that I'm in idolatry. And I don't even know that I'm putting my authority ahead of and in front of God's authorship. And I don't even know that. And so I have to have these experiences time and time again that say there must be a better way. And the ego runs away from that thought. Like the ego doesn't know what to do with that thought. The ego will convince me that, or try to convince me that it knows what to do with that thought. It will come up with innumerable options that can occupy me for lifetimes. But the truth is that the ego doesn't really have a real answer, not a real one. And I really just appreciate this idea that, or this revelation, or this admission that truly the ego is insane, and the ego is like the pinnacle of false pride. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm hearing today.
Thank you. Okay, where are we at here? 45? To know reality is not to see the ego and its thoughts, its works, its acts, its laws and its beliefs, its dreams and hopes, its plans for salvation, and the cost belief in it entails. In suffering, the price for faith in it is so immense that crucifixion of the Son of God is offered daily at its darkened shrine, and blood must flow before the altar where its sickly followers prepare to die. Yikes. What do you think, Josh?
I'm excited to hear what you think.
I don't know what to say about that. I mean, yeah, it's like, well, it's not really, to know reality is not to see the ego and its thoughts and so on. And suffering, the price for faith in it is so immense that crucifixion of the Son of God is offered daily at its darkened shrine. So by looking at the ego, right, it's not really, from what I'm hearing, is like from looking at what it does, how it works, how it acts, its beliefs and so on, isn't really how we're going to learn reality. And I totally agree with that. But what it does help me learn is what is not real. And what I do believe. That's what's helpful for me. I think that's exactly why he asks us to just look. Just look. You don't have to buy into it, dig down, whatever. Just look. Just look at it. And another thing I was thinking about is this idea of reality, and this idea of peace that he was talking about up above a little bit, to be forever conflict free, undisturbed, in deepest silence and tranquility. Like, I don't really experience that a whole lot in this experience. But I get glimpses of it. And for me, Josh and I have tried to pick up this daily. We are not great at doing it daily, but this daily practice of contemplative prayer, which is something that Thomas Keating sort of promoted and taught. And, I think Richard Rohr now is probably somebody that more people are familiar with today, who's kind of still keeping that that fire kind of stoked on the contemplative prayer. And what's so beautiful about it is that it just asks us to be still and quiet. And then if a thought comes up, then we just gently place a word that we associate with, like a sacred word for us. Just place it on the thought. And so we're not actively trying to not think, and we're not actively like trying to get to a place of peace. But what I found that when I practice this, that the awareness of the presence, its presence, I can tap into that if I just stick with it, if I can just place that sacred word on a thought and just let it go, don't attach to it or whatever. It's like what is left is just the presence. And when I'm looking for that through my, psychiatry and therapy and, what all the other things that I do, it's not necessarily there that I find. I just find like, oh yes, this is what happens when I have a belief in separation. And so it sort of reinforces for me why it's so essential to like walk the line as best as I can. And I'm not perfect, but to just try to walk the line and to find that presence. I kind of know where I can go and what to do for that. And sometimes it's with joining with people too, and having that moment, and spirit working with us and others, like that is another way that it seems to be very readily available and sensed it that is working through us at all times. But apparently I'm just easily distracted by, crucifixion and blood everywhere, which would be evidenced by the shows I watch a lot of times. I love a good serial killer show. All right, moving on here. Last paragraph. Yet will one lily of forgiveness change the darkness into light, the altar to illusions to the shrine of life itself, and peace will be restored forever to the holy minds which God created as his son, his dwelling place, his joy, his love, completely his, completely one with him. I remember Ken just getting all on fire about, just made it all up. He just made it all up. And maybe we should just get over ourselves. See, it really gets Josh fired up when I'm excited about that. All right. Well, I think we've got a few minutes. I don't know if we want to head out with a song or what you want to do.
Yeah, I think that I do think that it's worth noting that one lily of forgiveness is enough to transform the entire experience. That one moment of offering peace in the midst of the chaos can turn the entire system on its head. And actually not even just flip it upside down, but dissolve it. And I really appreciate that reassurance that when we allow forgiveness to take place, all of the sign roles, all of the ripple effect that we've authored by usurping God's authority is free to dissolve, and we can be released from the qualifications and the quantifications that the ego has made regarding any circumstance, any belief system, any structure, any relationship, any system. And I just have seen a few examples of that in my life that I believe that to be true. That in a moment of clarity, in a moment of receiving a correction, in a moment of just being available to truth, an entire paradigm can be shut down, and we can choose again. So then the question becomes, am I asking Holy Spirit to help me choose again with conviction? Or am I just kind of reading A Course in Miracles and thinking to myself, let me remember I can choose again, as a safe space or as some kind of mantra? I don't know that it matters, but at some level, for me, the mantra has led to a deeper conviction in many ways. And in other ways, it seems as though it hasn't meant anything at all, because I keep experiencing certain things. So with that one lily of forgiveness, we have this opportunity to be freed of the ego, the insanity, the idolatry. And I'm grateful for that. Which one did you pull up?
So let's just do, are you just going to YouTube? Just pull up Sam Garrett.
What do you want to listen to?
I was gonna say we could just listen to Grace today, but
But perfect. Thank you.
no, it's not called today. It's just Grace. So the second one, nothing, unless you want it to be live. Thank you, everybody, for being here today.
Grace is life. Without it, there is no life. Grace is the heart. Grace is the soul. It is the presence of God.
Holy Ramanand knows. Yes. I said, oh, Spirit, guide us higher. I said, oh, Spirit, guide us higher. 'Cause I remember in the days of old, before TV screens and mobile phones, when real kings and queens sat upon their thrones, when Ramana, Christ and Krishna liberated souls. But nowadays it seems we've lost our way. The devil's swoon has led us all astray. But what we seek is not so far away. I say, it's His grace that's been placed on my head. Oh, it's His grace that's been placed on my head. Oh, Bhagavan, it's your grace that's been placed upon my head. Again and again, your grace has been placed upon mine. And yours is the world, young soldier. Don't ever listen to what those people tell ya. Follow your heart, my brother. Don't ever let them turn you into a number. 'Cause yours is the world, young soldier. You're not your thoughts, you're beyond your culture. So follow your soul, my sister, and never let them get you down. I said, oh, Spirit, guide us higher. I said, oh, Spirit, guide us higher. Holy Master, wash away our pain. Set us free from the bondage of our selfish ways. Help us all come together as one human race. The warriors of the rainbow come to make a change. Why do we crave this negativity when all we really want to be is free? I think it's time we look inside for peace. I say, it's His grace that's been placed on my head. It's His grace that's been placed on my head. Holy Ramana, it's your grace that's been placed upon my head. Again and again, your grace has been placed upon my head. And yours is the world, young soldier. Don't ever listen to what those people tell you. Follow your heart, my brother. Don't ever let them turn you into a number. 'Cause yours is the world, young soldier. You're not your thoughts, you're beyond your culture. Follow your soul, my sister, and never let them get you down. Holy Spirit, come guide us all. Come liberate our souls. Holy Ramana, Holy Muji Baba, yes. Holy Sitaram, Om Buddha. Holy Ramakrishna Namaha, 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 Holy Ramakrishna Namaha.
Thank you guys
so much.
much. See you next week, maybe, hopefully.
Yes. And so, thank
I
you.
love you.